Hello, everyone. Welcome back to the principal's office. Principal Brown is coming to you this week with another cool message. Before I get started, go ahead and subscribe and share. So, we have two topics that we need to talk about. I found my notebook. Very good teacher has a composition notebook, and it has my notes in here about what I wanted to talk to you about. We know that mental health is real. So we're not going to deny that. And before I even go down this rabbit hole, I'm going to let you know I'm not a future doctor. I will be, but I'm not a medical doctor. But I will give you my experiences and my expertise of what I do know when it comes to mental health in students. It is real. And yes, I'm old school. I'm pretty old. And I will say that back in the day, we handled our problems differently. And so I'm putting it out there, parents, uh, especially if you were born in the 70s, even if you were born in the early 80s or 80s or so. The kids today handle problems a little bit different than what we handled problems and how we were told to handle our problems, right? I'll give you a funny, even if you went and you fell down off the monkey bars when you were young, and you felt like the world you were gonna die, you would go run into your mama and she would be like, "You better right," or put some ice on it, go sit down something. It wasn't nothing major, right? They wasn't gonna take us to the doctor and run up a doctor's bill. And your arm could technically be broken. I do remember. I love my parents, but I do remember skating. And I was a chubby kid, so I was trying to skate and didn't know how to skate. And I was skating, twist my ankle, and everybody in my family was like, it's Friday night. We're having a good time. What is your issue? Well, I twist my ankle. And hindsight, I did not go to the doctor. They wrapped it and said, go sit down somewhere. And so that's how maybe back in the day, how we handled our problems. But the issues that kids are having today, it is a lot more serious, and kids take it a lot more to heart. And so we have to let our kids know it's okay to express themselves. We have to let our kids know it's okay to seek help and ask for help, and that help may not come from us as parents. It may come from a therapist, that someone outside of the family that the kid can talk to express their feelings and express their needs. And so, with the pressures of school itself, we think, hey, we turned out fine. I even say it myself, hey, we turned out fine. However, we didn't go to school with Instagram, Facebook, TikTok, and all those things. We didn't have those things. You had to find a note that said, do you like me? Yes or no? Because somebody had to write that and then pass it three seats up, three seats to the right. Now it's boom, instantly on some type of social media platform. And it depends on if the person says yes or no, that's going to devastate your life. Or the fact that if in reality is real, right? We all had that group of kids that didn't like you. And once you left school, it was like, oh, I'm at home, I can't feel it, especially if they didn't live in your neighborhood. But now, the reaching is far. So even if you didn't live in my neighborhood, or once I got home, I felt like I was safe and I didn't have to deal with it until the next day when I went to school. Now we have social media. So everybody's going to know who likes who or who doesn't like who, and it's going to go out there and it's going to go a lot faster. And kids are internalizing that. So you have to think about ways to talk to your child without being so judgmental and comparing your life to their life. And then how do we deal with that? And it may be going to a counselor. It may be giving them words of encouragement every day. It may be asking them in the afternoon, how's your day going? Not academics, but just how's your day? It may be spot checking their social media because, truth be told, I'm talking about the receiving end, right? And the mental health that it impacts. But what about those that are doing the dirty work? Those that are the ones that, as they like to say, the social media bullies or the keyboard gangsters, those are the ones that we need to worry about, because they are also spewing some hateful things maybe on their classmates that's making their classmates uncomfortable, but maybe they're doing it because they're uncomfortable in some form or format. And someone did not say it was okay for them to go to therapy or seek a therapist. Post check your kids and figure out what's going on. If they have social media, please make sure you monitor it. Please just don't let them have cell phones without you monitoring it, and vice versa. Kids, you know what you know, right? So you're on social media, you see things that that was not right. Don't close your mouth and say nothing, because you're just as guilty as those that are doing it. So make sure you tell an adult what you see or hear, because what's happening to your classmates can affect their learning, and it affects the school environment, and it affects your classroom environment, and it affects a person. And so if you see something, maybe it's not being done to you, or maybe not done to you yet, please report it to the school, report it to your families, so then that way it can be handled, because that plays a part of mental health. When you start to ask students what's going on with them mentally, and they start to tell you their woes and pressures, it is one of those things. And it's not always around bullying too, it's around school grades and different things. So that's why seeking someone to talk to, journaling their thoughts and feelings, is a great way to have a mental health outlet, especially in the challenging times of school. One of the other things I want to talk about, this was on social media and it was on the news. And I've heard a couple of people mention it to me today. I'm going to quickly talk to you about, and everybody has an opinion, but of the assistant principal who got hit in the eye with a hanger and now can't see. And as educators, I came into the education world, come from a different field. Um, so I look at things so different. But hats off to the educators who went to school, actually signed up, took a 4-year degree and said, I want to be an educator. They're cut different, right? And so I'm just imagining that maybe this AP, because I'm not sure AP stands for assistant principal, in some places they call them vice principals, signed up for this job. And so she signed up for this job. And unfortunately for her, there was a student that was having a moment in the classroom, and she did what many of us do. We think we're superheroes with walkie talkies and keys. We go running down to go assist and either to mitigate whatever the issue is. And the classroom teacher needed help, so she went to help. I'm assuming that the classroom teacher probably did what she was supposed to do by calling, and that's why the principal got there, or the assistant principal got there. Fast forward to, she's in the room and the child is throwing things, throwing tables and chairs, and somehow, I guess, through a hanger, and the hanger went into I have a couple of questions about why the hanger is in the classroom. So I'm trying to figure that out. Not saying it has anything to do with the bearings or whatever, but I'm just questioning the hanger because it could have been scissors, right? Um, but my experience is, and this is what I've always told my staff as an educator: when a child is in a crisis, in a moment, let them have their moment, right? And that could be that everyone comes from out of the classroom, including myself. But as long as you visually can see them, you let them have their moment. They get tired. When they tired themselves out, then you walk into the room. That's number one. Number two, my disclaimer, because if it is the same kid that constantly we're working through some issues, I always tell the parents, hey, I am only going to run into that room, or grab your kid if the kid is doing something that they will end up immediately harming themselves, because I would never want that. But I also got to remember that I don't want to harm myself too. I want to go home to my family, and I want my teachers to go home to their family, and all the kids that's in that classroom to go home to their family safely. And so my only advice to those that are starting the school year currently, or those that's about to start the school year, my advice to you is what I've told my staff for 9 years. Don't put your hands on people, children. And when a kid is in crisis, let them exert themselves out. And then you step into the room, and then you try to address what you need to address. But at the same time, you have to have so many measures put in place, because when you know that kid is in crisis, you have a secretary or someone contact the child's home and say, hey, your baby's in crisis. We're watching, we're monitoring, but we do need you to get to the school quickly to assist us with this matter. So there's two things that should be happening at the same time, because unfortunately for this assistant principal now, she is going into a world that is so different for her. I can't imagine what she's going through. And the sad truth is, she was going in there to do her job and going in there to protect probably the kid from himself, and probably the other kids that was around her, as many of us do. The sad truth is, now she's going to be living a totally different life. So many prayers and blessings to her and her family, because this is all new. And to that the young child who was going through this, because maybe they're going through something, and when they get older and they realize what they have done, that's also something that the family is going to have to go through, and their family. So it's not a good thing all the way around. But my advice to everyone is, keep your hands to yourself. And when a kid is in crisis, give them space and let them do what they need to do. Make sure that you protect yourself while they're in crisis and they're throwing chairs or what have you. And I've seen it all. But you let them do that. But you make sure that you're safe and that they're safe to an extent, as they are having their moment. make sure you have one of those secretaries or somebody call that house and say, hey, I need you to come to this school and support us in this matter, because this is what's happening with your child right now. But that's my take on it. Everyone handles things differently. Every state has their own rules. Everybody does things differently. But that's just my advice. And it saved me for all these years. So I would just say, take that advice and you can do what you want with it, but it is out there for free and everybody has an opinion. So the opinions that I expressed today on this current situation that's happening with the assistant principal is my opinion, and those were the facts that I heard on the news. And again, I'm praying for that family of the student, and I'm praying for the family of the assistant principal, because all the way around, it is really just a bad situation. In any event, I will make sure that I come back and talk to you about if your child is being bullied in school, what steps I feel that you should take. It depends on what county you're in, but we're quickly going to talk about that. But until the next time, don't forget again to share and subscribe with your friends. Bye, guys.